Well, thank you for joining us, and it's that time again for Cultural Reflections. We have an interesting one for you today. This one goes back to 1966, 1967. See, in the fall of that year, little did this band know 30 years from now they'd be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Stephen Stills and Neil Young, they were from Canada, and you had Richie Furay, who later was a Christian artist, but he also hooked up at times with Jim Messina, who they formed POCO, and later on Messina left and became Loggins and Messina, and Richie also sang with J.D. Souther, who is friends with Glenn Frey of the Eagles, and who knows. Stills actually auditioned for the Monkees, they just didn't want him. Imagine that, Stephen Stills a monkey. And Bruce Palmer and Dewey Martin were also part of this. Now, they came out with a song in that time, and it was shot up the charts rapidly. It was actually almost done by mistake. They were a folk and country kind of band, and they pretty much made this song, and it wasn't really played on the air until the spring of that year, but again it shot up the charts. So without further ado in talking about it, let's get to the song, and you tell me what you think. Sit back and take a listen, and it's called For What It's Worth. Let's go to it. Okay, let's hope that we don't have any commercial to deal.
Something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop, children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Being wrong, nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds are getting so much resistance from behind. Time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Feel day for the heat. 1,000 people in the street, singing songs and they carrying signs, mostly say hooray for our side. It's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going on. Paranoia strikes deep into your life, it will creep. It starts when you're always afraid. Step out of line, the man come and take you away. You better stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop. Now, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop. Hey, what's that sound?
1967, that was the Buffalo Springfield, and you know, they had a message, and it still applies today. This all happened almost, like I said, by mistake. There was a curfew protest outside the Sunset Strip Pandora Box, and they didn't like what was happening, and I guess you could say it was the, you could see the hippie sideburns, the free love era, and they started wanting to do what they wanted. They didn't care about law enforcement, and that's where we started having our riots and our kind of confrontations against police. But police were there to keep law and order, actually to protect them. I didn't know that too well back then. But that song not only went from that little street brawl out in Sunset Strip in California, it became the cry of why we should be out of Viet Nam, and a very turbulent time, as this was the time of the assassination. Well, a little bit before that was the assassination of JFK, and then you had Robert Kennedy, RFK, assassinated at the Ambassador Hotel, and then you had Martin Luther King assassinated, and yeah, three big political leaders. And these guys, like I said, went on to not only sing songs, but they became Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. And if you don't know who Graham Nash is, you can look him up. He played with the Hollies, and the Hollies were quite a band in their time in the 60s. And then Crosby was out of the Byrds, and the Byrds are also legendary. All these guys are Hall of Famers. But very interesting, and I thought it'd be a song to share about cultural times, because during the upheaval and unrest that we have now, it's not a whole lot different than it was back then in the protest. And so we see unrest in the streets, and it's not done politically anymore. It's they're the puppets. It's the ones with the big dinero calling the shots behind the scenes, the unelected ones. Well, leave your thoughts, leave your comments, hit subscribe, and thanks for joining us. And if the Lord keeps you around, looking for you, hoping He keeps you around too, for next time, and that He tarries. Give us some thought.